All right, this is Scott Thompson with Vantage Optics. We're going to be working on a 2014 Chevy Express van. This one's owned by Josh. It's built by WeldTech and a bunch of other people. And it has the stock headlights, and we're going to upgrade them to the projector style lights. So first step on this kit is to remove the top two bolts here. It's a 10mm socket. And then save these bolts. You will need them. You can then pull the headlight out. So the headlight it's probably a little bit tight usually. There's a clip back here for adjusting, a screw. Some of them are longer, some are a different shape. They get stuck, but you kind of weasel it out like that and you're good to go. And then once it comes out, you can unclip the high and low beam bulbs. So it's wise to check which one's high and low beam. Low beam is always the outside, larger cavity. High beam is the inside. So when you unplug them and do them, you can use a Sharpie and mark the bulbs. Keep in mind this will only need to be done on one side, and on this car it's on the passenger side because we will be installing a wire harness. So it's not very necessary in this case to mark the driver's side. So once it's out, you can see here the void left over. We'll be installing ballast down in this part down here, and the original two connectors for this one on this driver's side will not be used any longer. They can be taped up and stashed away. So once you've got the lights out both sides, you're going to want to focus on mounting some of the electrical stuff. So you have the ballast. This is the part that actually fires and controls the bulb. There's the bulb connector. These mount on a lot of the gas ones. They'll mount down here. If you have a diesel one, always, well, both fans, always check what's on the other side of the firewall down there. Make sure, and then double sure, and then triple sure that you're not drilling in anything important like wires and AC lines and fun stuff. But put this down there, mark it with a Sharpie. I don't know if you can see those. I got two marks there. We'll drill those out, and then it will end up looking just like this, which we already did on the passenger side. So these once mounted there, the harness will connect into this plug here, and then you'll have the single output that will route to the back of the light. Okay, so we've got the ballast mounted now. It's through bolted. You can screw these in with self-tapping screws, whatever you feel is sufficient. We've routed the harness, so there is a long and short side of the harness. We mount the relay. We'll put the relay on the passenger side nearest the battery because there's a battery connection, and then we'll put a short side to the passenger side, and the long lead will come over to the driver's side. It will plug in the ballast. We'll plug into the ballast here. The ground, we'll find a happy spot for the ground on the chassis sheet metal. The high beam here will plug into the high beam splitter on the back of the headlight, and the ballast output here, these amp plugs, will connect to the low beam. The only caveat to this kit is you do need to remove this ear. This is where the bulb occupies in the new configuration, and so we will use something like this. You can use a Dremel, you can use tin snips, you can use whatever you want, but this tends to work pretty well as a body saw, just to come in here and remove it. We'll do that. We'll do that. So that removes that portion, which fell down here. We'll get that, and you're good to go. So you can put the headlight in. We will show how to do that in the next step. So we're looking at the back of the light here. Low beam side, you'll have the projector setup. There's a video on how to put in the bulb. It's a collar and a locking piece inside here. And then there's a high beam bulb. In this case, it's a halogen. There is a high beam splitter to allow both high beams to operate. And so you have one high beam connection and one low beam connection. And so when we put these in, there's hooks on the bottom here. These hooks go to these two pieces here. And so you kind of carefully set it in here, and you can make your connections. So we'll make the high beam connection, and it's always wise to make sure that you get the colors lined up. In this case, anything black, we'll go with black here, and the red in this case for high beam will match up to the white. Could also be red in other applications. And then the headlight bulb here might be a little hard to tell, but these connections are they're one way. You can't screw those up. They connect, and that's all you need to do to connect the headlights. So we're all connected here. Make sure all the wires are happy and going into place. We did choose a ground. Didn't cover this. We did choose a ground here for the white wiper bottle. It goes to the body, so that was a nice, easy, simple place to mount it. So we will snake the adjuster under here, and we'll get the whole system nice and happy. Takes a little bit of manipulating to get these things into place because of the hooks, and then once they're in place, they simply slide forward with the two pins and bolts up here, and you're good to go. And that's how they mount. So we will be able to put those bolts right back into place, tighten them up, and that is the reinstallation of the new headlight. In this case, it does have a single low beam projector and the OEM halogen high beam. There are options for other variations, but all a very good package. All right, we're over here now on the passenger side where the relay input connection is for the harness. So we're going to use, on our kit, we use a 9007 connector. This is not the original connectors for this car. They're normally 9005 high beam, 9006 low beam. However, with low beam connection, with these connections, you only get high or low beam as functionality. And for the bi-xenon capabilities of the projectors, we want both in one shot. So we have a proprietary adapter harness here that allows us to connect and adapt from one style to the other. So an important factor with these here, in this case I marked that this one was the low from our previous state setup over there. You have a colored wire and a black wire here, and the colored wire is I recommend you check it, but the colored wire on GMs usually is the 12-volt line, and the black is the ground, and that's for high and low. So for the Vantage Optics part here, we'll send the part. Usually it will come one pinned here already, and this is how it would connect. Right, you have the tang here connects with the tang on the thing, and when you line these up, you'll see that the positive line on ours and the colored line on the factory one is lined up. So we plug in the high and lows. They'll click in. The colors will line up here, and this will then get connected to the relay harness. It's wise to wiggle these. Don't force anything. Always check to make sure all the pins are in place. And that is the switching side of the relay harness. So that can float. You can zip tie it around, do whatever you feel like back there. But that's the switching side. The other side, we have things that we can bring down here from the other side, the driver's side there. That this is the ballast connection, and this will simply plug in to the ballast, just like it says, and that will come around the corner. We'll find a happy way of doing that. That plugs in, and we're good to go with that. Again, you have your low beam. You have then the high beam output also as well that's here, and it'll be good to go. All right, so we're now on the passenger side cutout. This needs to be done the same as the other. Always check everything more than once. All right, we're cut out, grounded, and ready to make our two connections here, high beam and low beam. Grab the light, set it up here nice and easy, make our connections everywhere. Make sure all the wires go where they're happy, and that the light sneaks in properly. This one was a little bit tight taking the factory one out, so I expect that it will as well be tight putting this one in as the same. But that's how cars are. That in. We'll get the bottom hooked. Top pushes in nice and smooth. 2 pins go in. Make our mounts. We'll check to make sure it's tight. Moving the car so it seems good. And then the last component that we need to do, two steps. One is to mount the relay harness here. We'll screw this into the core support right there, and then we need to make the battery connection, and we'll be good to go. All right, so once you have your power connected at the battery on the terminal and the relay mounted, turn them on. We did have an issue with the ground. It turned out that there was a pin in the harness that just needed to be pushed in a little further, but those kinds of things happen. We do our best to make sure that isn't a problem, but happens to the best of them. So now we're here. We have low beam functionality. It's a nice cutoff line, and then when we go to high beam, we'll have all four lights on. So you have high beam on the projector and high beam on the inside factory position, and that also works with the flash to pass. And when you turn those off, you go back down and you can see the flash to pass works just as well.